You talk a lot about only getting 12 of these opportunities. How do you see guys in practice, in the locker room, whether it's a mindset or an energy just shift when you come out of camp and into week one prep?
Yeah, I almost hope it doesn't shift, right? I mean, that's the whole mentality of this program is your mindset day in and day out for the last 6 months should match what Tuesday practice in the fall looks like week 1 to week 6 to week 8 to week 12. The great teams that I've been around, they've had the same mindset every single day. The teams that are either growing or the teams that are trying to find their way, you feel like it's a yo-yo through the season. And that's honestly, are we there yet? I don't know. Are we tough enough to be a team to do that? I don't know. But we're going to answer those questions, I think, really fast. And that's the great joy of it. You know, I think, do you have the leadership? Do we have the coaching staff? Do we have the players that have that same mindset to come in every day with a sense of purpose to get themselves better? And, you know, like I know I've talked about this team so far, it's been enjoyable to be and watch their journey, but you're 7 months into it, right? Like you're gonna evaluate it so much more here in the coming months and weeks, because now there's a result, a tangible result to the time, the effort, the energy that you spend into it, and not all results will be great. And how you respond to it is defining of who you are and who you become. But man, is your process directed on the result, how you played, did we win, did we lose, or is your result, man, I'm trying to be my best every day? And usually those teams and those players, man, they have elite success.
What has stood out to you about North Dakota on film?
Yeah, you know, I look at some things in their program in terms of just an impression of gratitude that we have an opponent like this. I mean, they're tough. You know, I think you see a coach that came in there, built a culture and built a football team that believes in winning and having success. You know, and honestly, you start on the videotape of their special team success, how great they were in kick return last year. I think they were #1 in the country in kick return yards. You know, they're a physical and fundamental nature in the punt return and the punt game. And, you know, and then you flip on both sides of the ball. I mean, on the defensive side of the football, obviously, you know, who they've been has been very similar for a long period of time. They're tough, they're physical, they create havoc on the defensive side of the football. Man, their kids play really hard. And on the offensive side of the football, you know, especially you watch that team a year ago, boy, dynamic, dangerous. You know, it didn't matter who or where they were playing. They had the ability to really challenge you on the defensive side of the football. So, you know, I think just a respect factor. You see, I think, you know, that tenure of what coach has done there over his period of time, he's completely changed the culture and mentality of that program, and it really oozes off the videotape. And again, it's gonna challenge us from the very start of the game, and you appreciate that about that. You know, every game is going to have its own unique situation, but this one, their mentality, how they'll come in here and how they'll play, they're going to play really, really tough, and they've proven that. It just hasn't mattered who or where they played. Every game you watch of them, man, you really respect what that opponent's all about.
Matt, how would you describe Rocco Becht entering week 1 as a new starting quarterback last season to Rocco Becht, 13 starts, what he did, offensive freshman of the year, heading into his week 1?
Yeah, you know, I think when I think about Rocco, you know, and my mindset hasn't really shifted ever with Rocco, because when you talk about mindset and how he approaches every day, it's what I've always really appreciated about him. He is the same guy every day. You know, I think we talked a little bit before fall camp. You know, Rocco came into last fall, I think, earning confidence along the way. And I think that Rocco now has enough banked confidence to come in and almost take a little bit of a leadership role within the football team and certainly the football program, and especially on the offensive side of the football. And obviously when the quarterback is the guy that has the leadership intangibles and he sets the tone for everybody around him, usually you have a chance to really grow into something on the offensive side that can be really successful. And I think Rocco has really taken the reins of that and has earned bank confidence to be able to take the reins of that.
And he talked about a little bit about being a little bit nervous last season. Probably part of it was knowing he had to earn trust,
For sure.
let alone his own confidence. How did you see that evolve over the season, and when did it first start to pop that not only his teammates really trust him, but everyone on the staff does too?
Yeah, you know, I think Rocco's work work ethic going into last season probably preceded himself. He was such a great teammate in 2022. Rocco went into that game. I don't know if you guys remember, but in that game in TCU in 22, Hunter got hurt, and Rocco went into that game, and it wasn't perfect, but man, I know it wasn't like a great day, but man, you could feel like a sense of like just a mindset shift as he kind of went in and took over. And I feel like he springboarded that into the offseason a little bit, and he had some banked reps as a redshirt freshman. And, I feel like when I look at Rocco's transition holistically, I think when you go to that Ohio game last year, him playing, he doesn't even go into the locker room at halftime. He's puking on the steps as everybody's like walking in at halftime going in, and he could hardly like stand up. And then the kid went out and played the whole second half and really played incredible. I think that day was like everybody in our programs like, that's our guy. That guy can lead us to do really special things. And I think we came back and really played to who he was. And I think as coaches and players were able to really rally just around that mentality after that game. And I know it wasn't the result we wanted, but it was certainly one of those days that was, I think, profound in a lot of ways for Rocco and I think everybody around Rocco. So, like I said, I think his work ethic has allowed him to be in this sense where he can be a great leader in this football program.
Coach, what are some things you're going to look for within the wide receiver group this Saturday, specifically with guys like Benny Nagoy and Isaiah Alston?
Jeez, yeah, I'm. That's an area that I'm really anxious to see who when the lights come on and it's the brightest, who can step up and really play consistent football. There's a lot of talent in that room, and it's proven to have some wow moments in camp, but to me, the consistency, can you do it when the lights come on? Can you be your best? And they're fortunate because they've got two great guys that they can rally around in Higgins and Noel. But, Eli Green and Benny Nagoya, and you talk about those guys and Isaiah, like, man, what's it going to look like, when the lights come on? And for all those guys, they're in new situations, new place, new quarterback. Obviously, Benny's returning, but in a different role than he was a year ago. So I'm anxious to watch that group.
You've got 3 in-state starting linebackers now. I'm not sure how many times that's happened in your time here.
Yeah.
Probably not many, but what do you get a sense for kind of the pride with those guys and, what that's going to lead to on the field?
Yeah, I think all 3 of those guys have been what's been rewarding to watch is those guys really take ownership in that linebacker room and the growth of that room. It was so young a year ago, and all those guys were young as well. But just the monumental jump that I feel like that room has made from where we were at the end of last season to where we are today. And then you talk about, work left to right. And, for me, it's Cooper Ebel. I think Coop, just that guy has, from day one that he's gotten here to where he is today, probably made the biggest jump of anybody. You're talking a single wing quarterback that was playing every rep, the punter, the kicker, the single wing quarterback, and then playing on defenses for 4 years in high school and doing everything for his high school program. And what aided him was elite competitive excellence. He loves to compete, and it doesn't matter what it is. And man, he's really showed up. And then you talk about Caleb Bacon, and man, what Caleb has stood for. That guy coming in here as the walk-on to coming now as, man, the guy that, maybe has a chance to be one of the most special linebackers that we've coached here. A guy that can do so many different things for our defense. And then, at Sam, Will's a guy to me that just has grown. He's grown every year with the opportunities that's been presented to him. And, I think the thing that's been fun for them, though, is they've been really pushed. Jack Sadowski's playing great football right now. I think Jack is, right on the verge of where you want him to be after a really good freshman season. I think Cale Berzina's maybe one of the most impressive freshmen that we've had since we've been here, at that position. And so, those guys are challenging that room. And I think when you're challenged that way, Zach Lovett's doing the same thing at Mike Linebacker. When you're challenged that way, it really forces you to be your best. Jacob Ellis getting back for the first time, he's not been healthy in 2 years, and to finally have him back ready to go and play for us, I think those are big things. But I think the competition has made all those guys elevate themselves. And I think those guys, their own competition and pride has elevated them to the top of the depth chart right now.
And then you've got Darian Porter, Miles Purchase on an oar line right now. Is that more of an indication of kind of the camp that Porter has had, more so than necessarily a knock on Miles?
Yeah, no knock on Miles. Miles is playing good football, and has played a lot. But I would say Darian Porter probably doesn't get the credit he deserves in this program, just in terms of what he's done. Probably been one of the most impressive special teams players we've ever had here. What he's done in terms of the return game and what he does in our coverage game, he's elite, and he's really, really special at that. And his unselfishness to move and now play corner, and I think we talked about it a little bit, maybe Travis, you and I talked about it a little bit preseason, but man, that guy's ability, I mean, you saw it coming last year. He's got length, he's got size, he's got himself to almost 200 pounds. And his ability to almost kind of like what TJ naturally happened. You saw TJ as a junior, and it was good football, and then his senior year was great football. And I feel like Darian's kind of on that same trajectory, a guy that played wide receiver. We asked him to move. The only thing that Darian's got to his credit is he's got elite special teams reps behind him. So, I would say Darian certainly had a great camp, and it's going to be exciting. Really, all three of those guys, it's like we've got three starters, and, whoever practices best probably will be the first one out. But, I think we got three guys for the first time that we feel really confident about those guys and their ability to play great football for us.
Coach, going back to Rocco, you talked about a lot of his leadership growth. We asked him, how has he grown from year one to year two? The thing he said was he dove into the playbook, which obviously comes with leadership qualities, but I imagine the mental growth of grasping the position has grown as well. Where have you maybe seen little things where it shows, okay, he would have maybe made that mistake year one, year two, he clearly has learned from those and is growing?
Yeah, those are really good questions, and I don't even know if it's the X and O in the playbook. I think it's what happens when you're a quarterback. It's like being the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, the head coach. You have to make split-second decisions, right? And you guys wouldn't remember this, but the first series of the first game against Kansas last year, and Rocco scrambles and he slides, and we're a yard short, and we have to punt the football. Now, Rocco could have run, and he was being smart. He slid, but he slid knees first, so they marked him a yard short. Right call. And then you watched him in the K-State game. The same situation came up, and he dove head first, and he got the first down. Right. And I think that's what's the thing I love about Rocco is he is so in tune to how do you win football games at the quarterback position. It's not we all see the numbers and what that look. That's not how you win at quarterback. You have to win one moment at a time, one situation at a time, and you got to be elite at taking care of the football and understanding what each situation looks like and how you win. And how does that come? That really comes through experience. I don't care what you say. There's not a young guy that's ready for that at this level because games are so thinly, won at this level. And then it's even double that when you go to the next level. But it's how do you manage each situation and how do you manage the knowledge and experience that you have to make the right play in the right moment with great consistency. And I feel like that's what Rocco's really grown the most. Like I said, I don't think it's like a playbook thing or an X and O thing. I think it's the ability to understand how do I win the game for our team? How do I put us in the best decision? You know what? Sometimes the best decision is throw the ball away and punt the ball. Man, sometimes the best decision is, hey, I got to just take the check down and get rid of the football. And sometimes the best decision is, man, I got to stay up and I got to probably fight to go get that first down. So, man, we can keep this thing going early in a football game. And, that's what I love about Rocco. He's a constant learner. He's a perfectionist. He wants to be the best, and he's certainly addicted to the process that it takes to play elite quarterback, and I appreciate that about him.
Coach, what are the special challenges of a season opener?
Yeah, I just think you saw it last Saturday, right? I mean, I just think our sport is so funny. It's not like basketball where you can go play 5-on-5 basketball all year. Right? It's not like baseball where you can go play wooden bat league in the summer and go, get ready to play. Football's really hard to replicate. 11 on 11, it's really hard to replicate the environment and game day experience. And so, how you tackle in the first game, how you handle the pressure of some of these guys in new roles, and all of a sudden now there's 70,000 people here, and there's this great environment and great experience. I think all those things are unknown, and what we do as coaches is everything in our power to try to create those moments and that anxiety and that stress level and make it harder than what it is on game day. But I think you really don't know what you have, and you're, as a player, you're trying to prepare yourself for those moments the best way you possibly can. And just like I was saying about Rocco, sometimes it takes experience and growth moments to get through it. But I think the first game is never for everybody in football. It's like a bowl game. There's just so much time lapse between the time you play that you really try to do a great job of settling your guys in and giving them the confidence to go play fast and play confident.
You guys voted on team captains this week. That was released yesterday online. What makes those 4 individuals players that you think their teammates wanted to vote for?
Yeah, really unique voting, to be quite honest with you. I think the voting to have 2 back-to-back captains in Bo and Jalen, and I would say overwhelmingly probably the most votes 2 young men have had, in the voting process. I think it says a lot about J.R. Singleton and certainly his growth in our football program. I would always say about J.R., he's our spiritual leader, and I feel like he's also the leader in our football program that has, his consistency to grow through hard things that have come his way have been really impressive. And I think the respect that our kids have watched JR grow through those, and that's injuries, that's, early in his career being at the top, and then, having some setbacks and not being at the top, and then fighting his way all the way back to the top. It's such a credit to JR and who he is and what he's become, and the mentality that he's impacted not only himself but everybody else around him on his way back to the top. It's been rewarding to watch. And then you got about a group of like 4 or 5 guys that, we'll kind of name game captain, that 4th captain every week. And, that pod of guys, it'll be fun to be able to reward because, I think that pod certainly has earned the right to be called captain on this football team. So that'll be kind of unique and fun to kind of be able to reward that group, 1 week each week as we kind of move ourselves through the early part of the season. But those 3 guys were certainly, I think it says a lot about who they are.
A different line of questioning. I know you guys suffered some injuries in the spring with Carson Willich, but throughout training camp, do you feel like you're in a good position going into fall camp, avoiding any major serious injuries or any knick-knack injuries that may have alter reps early in the year? Yeah,
I think all that, as we get through this week, will be, interesting to see where we're at. It was a really good physical camp. I think the thing that, we look at is you got 2 guys that are out right now for the season, right? And we talked about it, obviously, Daniel and Carson. And, I think everything else you just kind of navigate it as it comes, and to me, that's one of the positives about college football. Every week will probably be a little bit unique and different, but I don't see us having any long-term injuries or, even what are the challenges this week. I think as we get through practice, we'll have to figure that out as we get through the week.
Sounds like your guys' plan is to play a lot of guys up front defensively. Is there a plan? Is it going to be line switches? Is there a script for how you want to get those guys reps?
Yeah, I think again practice dictates that a little bit. What are we doing? I think some of it's situational. I think some of it's game flow, and I think some of it's practice. But I think the thing that is, and there's a lot of positions that way right now, is that some of it until the first 3 or 4 weeks kind of settle itself out, you're just not going to know. But I think that D-line room, man, there's so much competition. There's so many guys right now that have had really good camps that you're like, man, who and what and when. And I think a lot of that will kind of navigate itself through the early part of the football season. But I would expect a lot of guys on that D-line playing. And again, that's what's great about practice. You better come to practice every day. And if you don't practice well, it's going to be really hard to play on this team right now.
Matt, realizing that week 1 is not necessarily the time to put your entire playbook out there and on film and everything, what does the maiden voyage for Taylor kind of look like, and how are you kind of encouraging him?
Yeah, you just, I don't even know. I'm probably the guy that never thinks about that very much. You want to do everything in your power to try to have success in every game. And for Taylor and that offensive staff, no different than Coach Haycock and our defensive staff, man, efficiency. I think the ability for our guys to put a game plan together in this first game, that our guys have confidence. Again, what you're always nervous about in the first game is you don't know exactly what your opponent's going to do. You got to be ready to make great adjustments within the football game, and you can't do that if you got so much in that you don't have the ability to adjust. And so I think if we can have great simplicity, it'll equal great velocity of how our guys play the game of football on Saturday. And so I think that's probably my biggest concern on both sides of the ball, and probably no different on special teams. And again, you got an opponent that's going to come in, and what you really respect about them is they know who they are. Man, you know how they're going to play, and it'll be a great challenge of wills, in my opinion, in terms of two teams that really want to play football a very similar style.
That's all we got.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you.